And here it is, folks, the Harley Electric Glide Electrified. Dude, that looks smooth.
That's crazy.
Does that look smooth?
That's crazy.
All right. It's the maiden voyage.
Yeah, what are you doing?
We're just gonna do a quick test of this really quick. Ignore everything you see here right now. Again, just testing. We don't want to put the tank on back right now because we're testing it. We got the headlight. Remember the headlight from the side? There you go.
First voyage.
I think
Actually,
we're ready.
looks pretty good there.
Not bad, right?
It's not bad.
Steven, because you know I'm not riding this thing.
You have a family.
Just be very careful.
Yeah, I understand.
Don't touch anything. Don't lean on this part.
Yeah,
That's all.
I don't think that's a good idea.
And try to, when you ride, try to balance this so it doesn't fall over. That's all I ask.
So what are you doing?
Yeah, put that in the back.
What is that? That's the bald eagle?
It's a bald eagle. Steven, how you feeling?
I have a helmet on, so I'm okay.
Safety first.
This is really nice.
Ignore everything you see
Roll
here.
forward,
Do not try this at home. Yeah, we're hearing a popping sound. We're starting to realize more and more what it's like having a vehicle with no sound because you hear everything else. Yes.
Yeah, that probably has been going on. We just didn't know because of how annoyingly loud this bike was before.
Now you hear everything. Let's get to it. There he goes. And we never saw him again. That's insanely quiet. That's insanely quiet.
That is.
To the person that recommended going belt drive, it took a lot more than 15 minutes and a lot more than $50, but I mean, this is the end result. Listen. Dude, that looks smooth.
That's crazy.
Does that look smooth?
That's crazy.
That looks smooth. You hear nothing. Listen.
That is absolutely sick.
Is it real? Steven, you know what's crazy? The sound is insane. You hear nothing.
I feel like a bat.
All you hear are the tires. Isn't it wild?
Yeah, it's like a bat's wings just fluttering by. It was sick.
That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
It's wild.
Oh, God,
know,
what
right?
the hell?
I know, right?
I think I just ripped my earrings out.
Isn't that crazy?
Badass.
You hear nothing. How was it, John?
It's not loud enough.
Really?
Well, that's the point.
Well, you're a boomer, so I guess that you guys are used to that.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven a bunch of Zeros, but like, it still doesn't get old. It's neat.
So how
Especially
does
being
it-
on a loud bike.
So how does it compare to being on? I mean, I know Zero probably has a lot more torque, but well, I mean, I guess creature
Yeah.
comforts,
Yeah.
safety.
This is a sofa.
Did you do any weaving?
What? Yeah.
It was the same, just no noise. And a lot of the noise is coming from the front end.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
A rotor we need to check out.
No, it's this one. What do you call it? The bikes where the guys ride around when it's 0 degrees out, like anyone could, but no one does. What are those called again? One of these bikes. The Adventure. What do you call it? One of those?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, it's an Enduro.
Enduro. Yeah, they have an Enduro now.
Okay. Well, either way, that's still not a full
not this.
bag dresser.
Yeah.
You know, this is a Electric Glide was one of those pinnacles for Harley. It's like, hey, how comfortable do you want to be?
Stop on it. The tank and the nose on it.
Yeah, we should put it all back together.
Here we are on the completed Electric Glide. It was Electric Glide.
I mean, do we just call it the Electric Glide?
Let's call it Electric.
That's what we called it.
I think it's fine.
That's.
Electric Glide is good. But no, we're ready to cruise now. We're gonna do our startup procedure. Very simple. What you want to do is you want to reach between your legs, get the high voltage switch on.
High voltage right in your perennial area.
That's on. A lot of power between these legs. Ready? And you put the secondary switch on right here. Contactor click. And then you have the
Ah, yes.
energy gauge right there. Look at that.
Monitors each individual battery pack, which is kind of cool.
Exactly. So if something happens to one, that one's going to turn bright red and start flashing.
That's right.
We know to immediately throw the bike down and start walking.
And ultimately we did this because, I mean, there were so many gauges on this thing. It's like, what were we supposed to do? I mean, look at this. Look at this repurposing.
Exactly.
Live to ride.
You're welcome.
Ride to live.
That was on the air filter before.
Yeah, wait, also, live to ride. Ride to live.
It's everywhere.
All right, well, you're going to turn it on, or?
Yeah, it is on. Hear it?
This is very different from the last time you did this. I heard that other vehicles' exhaust leak louder than you.
That's amazing, dude. It's kind of cool.
This is nice.
This is the way it should be.
Is it?
No, except those two V twins burning out. That was pretty good, though.
You really like them.
I really like them.
You really like them.
Yeah.
All right, well.
All right, shall we dance?
We shall carry on. Scooty Boo, look at this. That is so funny. What happened?
Dude, a lady hit me. I was up the road, and I was making a turn,
Yeah.
and her front bumper tapped my leg. I was like, "Lady, what's going on here?" I started yelling, and then she's like, "I didn't hear you." I was like, "I'm right in front of you, miss. I'm right here."
All right, so this is the damage. So it went to the side. You just kind of
I went over,
pitched it up a little bit.
went over,
Mostly handlebar and that, but
mostly handlebar. That wasn't bad.
she said she couldn't hear you.
I couldn't hear. I'm like, literally, her front bumper was right here. I'm like, "You couldn't see me either?"
Well,
She goes, "Oh, this is a no turn." I'm like, "No
Yeah.
turnaround, lady." Yeah.
dude, yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know. I
The
know.
audacity.
I know. I know. I know.
Even your shoe got blemished.
Dude,
Ah! Ah!
the shoes stay on. Usually the shoes fly
Yeah,
off. It is
damn.
what it is.
Well, you're okay. I don't really
Alright.
care about this as long as you're okay.
That's all that. That's not all that matters. The bike's important too.
Well, we got
The bike can be replaced.
the majority of the video has already been shot.
Yeah.
In typical Harley fashion.
What?
Look.
Look at it. That's oil.
It's already leaking oil.
That's
Thanks.
oil. Thanks, Harley Davidson. This is a fun one, I'm gonna say, because it's quieter than a Harley. It rides nicer than a regular Harley does. It's a lot lighter than a Harley is. People just loved it. This is a really cool project. I had a really good time making this one. Yeah, and she's better looking than she was before. Just is better in every way. No smell. One thing I do wish though, I wish we had the radio cranked like all Harleys do. Like at a stoplight, we'll just crank the radio for no reason.
You just hear nothing but radio.
Nothing but radio.
Just Bryan Adams,
That's
Summer
all you hear.
'69, the whole time.
Seriously. But no, this was really fun. I feel like after writing it, I could understand why others would also want to enjoy it and ride it as well. Because it's such a weird experience hearing everything around you as you're riding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know you know better than I would because you've ridden zeros and stuff like that. But this is
far more comfortable than any of the other bikes that are
fun.
currently
And
out.
Having the ability to actually have both of your feet on both sides and just kind of lay back and have a passenger. We didn't ride two up on this. Okay, let's get into the tech details now. The total weight removed from the bike was 230 pounds. That includes unnecessary wiring harnesses, old fuses, air shock wiring, the clutch assembly, cabling, engine, and transmission. And now the net removed was 60 pounds, and that's after adding everything back, including the metal rib cage for the battery, the new battery, and the motor. Now, after the 15-mile ride in the cold, we only went down by about 1 bar on the battery, and that gives us an estimated range of about 90 miles in the chilly Northeast. So in the summer, it should be much better. However, remember we have 2 storage bags, so if we wanted to add more range, we could double the capacity, giving us around 180 to 200 miles of range before stopping to charge. But the most impressive part about this Harley is the sound. I think it's cool, and I'm glad we didn't do a chain, or else it would sound like a chainsaw and almost be too loud. Then again, maybe the lady that hit me wouldn't have if she heard the bike coming. Well, we hope you all enjoy the series on the Electric Harley Davidson. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. We'll see you guys next week.
Much later.
So that's the main contactor. This is the throttle, aka the vroom vroom knob. This is the key. And this is the DC to DC converter. I'll tell you what this is later, but this is the fuse box that goes to the rest of the bike. Right. And these are the 4 gauges that we're going to use for the battery monitoring system.
That you showed last video, yes.
Yes, I showed the last video. So these are the main batteries. What's going to happen here is all the positives from the batteries are going to go to the main cutoff switch. This is the master cutoff switch that was going to cut off all power to the bike, and it has to be as close to the batteries and as close to the positive terminals on all of them as possible. So once we flick this switch, the bike won't do anything. Also, in an emergency, if the bike catches fire, you throw it on the ground, shut off the switch, then you run like hell, call your insurance company, and then just say you don't know what happened. Get a payout, buy another bike, and go from there.
By an actual live wire.
By an actual live wire. Exactly, an actual live wire. So the first step is these going to the gauges here. This is a little bit trickier. I'll probably explain this in depth a little bit later on. But to get the individual voltages of the batteries, it won't be this easy. We'd have to have individual lines coming from each battery going to these. It's easy to have these as constant on because they're always connected to these, but 1, it'll drain the entire time, and then B, it doesn't make much sense having those on all the time anyways because you're going to reduce your range through each drive. This would actually cause phantom drain. You know, the Teslas lose like, I don't know, 8 miles or 5 miles a day. That would do because they'd be on all the time. So we're going to explain how we're going to have those on an on and off switch after to read individual battery voltages. But on the negative side, it goes to the main controller. That is the motor. That goes to the controllers as well. And each wire, we have the blue, yellow, and green, and they dub to the lines WUV on that side. From the main contactor, what happens after you turn the key, it energizes the contactor. Once you hear the contactor click, it allows the high voltage from the batteries to go through the contactor and connect to the controller and energize the motor. This is the throttle that's connected to the controller as well. And this is a potentiometer in here. Once you twist this, it just varies a 0 to 5 voltage output system to tell how much power to give to the motor. So that's kind of really it. On this side, it's a little bit more complicated. This is the DC to DC converter. And what happens here is this 72 volts from these 4 batteries goes into the DC to DC converter, and then 12 volts comes out. Figuring out is whether or not we want to have a battery in the middle. We don't know how good this DC to DC converter is. Some of them are so good that, you know, it's not going to cause any voltage drops once we turn the accessories on. But some of these are so small and not that great, you have to run a battery in the middle somewhere to kind of, almost like a, in some cases it's like running accessories straight from the alternator. Right. You know what I mean? When your battery dies, you get like, you know, the flickering lights and stuff. We're debating whether or not we want to add a battery, but that's also going to add weight and also take up more space, which we need. But from here, this actually goes to the main fuse box of the bike, and this will allow the components like the radio, the lights, tail lights, and turn signals to all work coming from that main fuse box. So everything in red on this side is where it connects to the master fuse box of the bike. So all we got to do is put the 12 volts in, so it acts as the previous battery, and then it should power everything up. This is belt day, so we want to position this so that the wheel's in place, and we got to figure out what our belt length is. Because again, because we decided to do belt drive and not chain drive, it makes our lives a little bit harder.
So thank you again.
Thank you, kind stranger. Again, no financial help whatsoever, but
never let it down.
This is cool. Thank you again, sir.
Yeah, can I get a few words?
Yeah, I got a few words for you, all right? We'll take these springs off. I'll dust them off, paint those too.
Yeah.
And I'll take off that plastic belt guard. I mean, we're just gonna ride dirty with this thing.
Really? You don't have any protection on the rubber?
The laser doesn't make it look that bad. Lock it. Steven, right now.
You doing a lobotomy?
I'm doing what that guy said I should do.
What guy?
I'm listening to a stranger on the internet again.
No, come on.
Yeah,
You gotta stop listening to strangers on the internet.
Make this solid, so
This is like going in somebody's nostril right now, and they're cured.
we're gonna do it. I mean, he knows best. I think honestly, we will listen to anyone as long as you say, "Source, I built X and X and X." He did that.
Right.
He goes, "Hey, you should do this." You know why? Because I built 10 of them. Doesn't mean you built them right, but you built 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't seen him run.
I mean, I have 10 kids.
To be fair, so what he's talking about is
mean
when
they're
we
all great.
remove this, the transmission that was made into the motor, the swing arm is part of that. And we're just pinking things around here. So when we remove that transmission and we have our new electric motor, there is a void here, and that's a lot of play. We're using a piece of leftover tubing, and we're gonna put some washers on the end of it to secure that in place so it doesn't have that back and forth. So this shaft right here. Oh gosh, I almost stuck my finger out.
Sorry.
Surprise.
Yeah. I didn't like your fingers.
Hey, you know what though? It shows people care.
Honestly, it really does.
People care. Thank you, kind stranger.
Right. Oh, a piece in there so this shaft doesn't flop around. So all we
Nobody
have
wants
to
a
do now-
floppy shaft.
No one wants that. Well, some might.
I mean, depends on the application.
It really depends. So this, I have to push this up a little bit more, but all this has to do here is get tacked because these were washers before. So I actually made the washer and the inlet a little bit larger to
board
fit
it out?
to fit the shaft through, and now it's fine. Go figure.
Fine work, sir. Fine work.
Not bad, not bad.
There you go.
Will it work? Probably not, but it took me an hour.
Godspeed. Where'd you get that?
See, the thing is this, right? That's angle iron. That's good angle iron. Someone was throwing away a bed in the dumpster. Dumpster diving, bed frame.
You didn't take the mattress too, did you?
I did. Almost a professional doing this. If you look at it, that's how we were able to center the belt. And you can't really get in there and see, but that's how we were able to make sure that the front's good.
We could see.
Yeah, there you go.
Sometimes we do things that are professional.
Sometimes.
Other times we just do things like this.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to look up the definition of any port in a storm, this is probably it. So this bolt and this 1.25" bit of washers here is what's going to help us get this to actually spin today. Right now we don't have the keyway for this sprocket, so we're gonna have to use this to tighten it down and friction fit it. So what we can do, when we energize the motor, we'll be able to get this to spin and spin the sprocket so that we can rotate the wheel.
We have to do a couple of tests with the suspension loaded. Once this is set, we'll take the bike down, sit on it, and probably do a few quick pulls to make sure that the belt doesn't get loose. Mind you, this is all happening without the belt tension, but it being fully tensioned. Not only that, but like I said, the rear axle, the rear wheel axle also isn't tightened either.
No, you've just moved it with your finger.
Yeah, so there's a lot of room for play here. Once we tighten these up, it's gonna pull the wheel even further back and apply more tension on the belt, and that should be pretty good. The other thing we have to do is we have to cut this. Thanks to that random man on the internet that suggested we do belt drive, making it 10 times harder.
And we started with the shaft that size because we weren't certain how much playability we would have, but
Yeah.
turns out the motor is very compact inside the frame.
Yes.
So when we were making the order of this piece, he's like, well, tell me the measurements. And we were like,
No habla inglés.
okay, pero no sé. And yeah, so that's why this looks like this.
No, but now this is pretty cool. So now that we know the motor's straight, when we had the tabs, we really couldn't get it right, so we decided to go with the plate instead. Now that we did this, I cut some Swiss cheese mounts in this plate, but those don't line up after we reposition the plate. Now I'm gonna drill 2 more holes and put 2 more pieces of hardware front and rear to keep the motor in the same place. And also having a giant plate I mean, if in the future, when things start getting wonky or we get in the crash with the bike, we could actually reposition the motor so that, you know, everything's still okay and true. So
When we get in a crash with the bike? This is jank as jank gets, but
besides the fact that it's spinning backwards, well, it is what it is.
Listen to that thing dance. Yeah, dude.
And the belt isn't fully tensioned, and we also didn't tighten down the rear wheel axle.
Nope.
That's pretty good.
For not firming up everything and using
The motor's loose, everything's loose. That's a pretty good run.
9 washers, a bolt, a tack.
Right.
A belt that's poorly placed on there that was used that we got off of eBay. Again, that's only 25% power with 1 battery.
As we said before, we have to unfortunately go get a Windows machine and to program the controller. But I mean, we have to get it to spin forward, number one. Steven. Now, this is the old motor,
Sure is.
and you did weigh it, correct?
I did.
We'll let the studio audience guess. But how much do you think that weighs, studio audience? You have 4 seconds. There you go.
135 pounds.
135 pounds just for that.
Did you know that? No.
So towards the end, what we're going to do is we're going to reveal the weight of the electric motor and the batteries combined. And I will say, the electric motor weight-wise surprised me. It was a little bit heavier than I thought it would be, but I think we're in pretty good shape. I think we should still be under the total weight with the gas tank, gasoline, the transmission, and the motor. Because it's interesting, right? Wait a minute, hold on. Think about it. This is 135?
Yes, 135.
How much was the transmission?
Transmission, anybody want to guess? About 45 pounds.
Yeah, so that's a pretty decent weight there.
That would be brick red primer. That's what that looks like. All right. Whoa, tubular. That's terrible. Never gonna do that again. Sorry, guys.
I just want to give a shout out to this beautiful paint job performed by Steve on himself. Thank you very much for painting the tray and the bottom of the motor bracket. Now this is the sprocket that was made for us. Thank you very much, and shout out to the guy that, again, suggested we do a belt drive. It's much quieter, but it takes a lot longer. You stated that you could get this fabricated in 15 minutes. That was not the case. I don't know where you can go, or where you live, actually, to actually get this done so fast. But again, thank you very much for that great suggestion. That was cut down, and this fits perfectly over this motor shaft, along with a matching keyway that seems to work pretty well. So once we line this keyway up to about there, that'll give us the opportunity to insert the key, tighten this down, and then we have a functioning sprocket onto the motor. And this is almost the same position that the transmission was in. So once we have this all mounted up, I think we're pretty much good to go. Once we log into the bike itself and figure out how to spin the motor forwards instead, so the bike goes forward, obviously, that should be pretty much it. I think we should be coming, hopefully this is coming to an end pretty soon. I know you guys want to see the end of this thing on the actual road. And before I forget, one thing that I did forget in this entire diagram, there are no fuses here. And one of the places that I have to add a fuse is right here, right before it goes to the contactor. I want to make sure I add a fuse right here in case there's any issues with the battery, it'll cut all the power off before it even gets to the contactor. So that's one thing I forgot to add. There's a fuse right there, and this thing doesn't work anyway. So that's the end.